I'm Catherine Ross, and I'm here live from the floor of the NYSU with Jim Cramer. Jim, let's kick it off by going unfiltered. What's on the top of your mind?
Well, I've got to tell you, Larry Kudlow. Okay, so a lot of people are saying that Larry Kudlow, Chief Economic Advisor, that he's just Mr. Positive, positive, positive. Let's deal with facts for a second. He says there are high-level talks between China and the United States right now, despite the fact that there's Hong Kong legislation going through the Congress, well, actually just the House, saying that there's going to be something big about to occur. Now, they've been happening in the weekends. He's talking about letting companies come in that are, instead of 49% owned by America, 51, 52, that's going to happen, and gigantic buys. He's saying they're going to happen imminently, okay? And then he says that despite the fact that Speaker Pelosi's been saying some very negative things about the president saying very negative things about Speaker Pelosi, he says there's accommodation by Pelosi, and we're going to get by Thanksgiving. We're going to get a deal with Mexico and Canada. I have said that the biggest obstacles to this market going higher are no buys by China, therefore pantsing the president, and nothing happening. Pelosi bottles up USMC. If we get the USMCA agreement and we get high-level buys from China, we're going to blow right through wherever the hell the S&P is. I mean, blow right through it. And I just think that people should recognize that while you may be skeptical about Larry is an old friend, so you could say that maybe I am not skeptical enough. But holy cow, if it's right, it's shocking. Shocking.
This morning you penned a real money column based on the stocks that you call NABAF, which are not as bad as feared. And one of those stocks...
I got to put United Rentals in that. I have United Rentals in my Real Money article saying that it was really worse than feared. But what's so interesting was this is NABAF writ large. The numbers, everything was negative. They put every single forecast for every single line on negative. And I guess people felt that they weren't that negative. So this stock is actually, I'm going to pull it from the column of as WTF, as I called it, be careful, and putting it in NABF, and maybe it's become the poster child of a company that reported a number that was very good, but then gave you a very bad forecast, and people are ignoring the forecast. And this is remarkable.
That feeds exactly into my question, which would, to you, Jim, when an investor is seeing these earnings reports that are missing expectations and yet the stock still goes up, is there any number that an investor can find that if they like the company, they like the company?
Yeah,
right?
I think you look at how low a stock is. I mean, United Rentals is a very good company. I've had them on multiple times. The stock is completely compressed. Stephanie Link, who used to run Action Alerts with me, loves the company. I've had Mike Nealing's no longer CEO, but I have always felt it's the great barometer of the U.S. And the only real lines that were very strong there, had to do with some construction that's not major. So look, let's dovetail what they're saying with the consumer lending numbers that J.P. Morgan gave us, remember URI's all domestic, and conclude that, once again, as Larry Kudlow said, the domestic economy is great. So then we immediately get into the narrative, well, why does the Fed have to cut? Well, the industrial economy sucks. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg and Senator Warren, for allowing me to use the word suck.
So investors like what they like in this market.
Speech today, Georgetown, could be very important in terms of actual policy and free speech. That's what, remember, yesterday, Marc Benioff, you and I were there at the night batch at dinner, basically said that Facebook's the enemy of free speech and that they're too powerful. So, I think this is a new gauntlet that's been tossed by Mark. He was saying that Facebook was, of course, a cancer, trying to get our kids addicted, but also now making it clear that it's got too much concentration of power and he wants it broken up. Really incredible. He is right there with Elizabeth Warren. Break up Facebook. My thinking is that if you break up Instagram and Facebook, that's like breaking up micro and soft.
But what is it going to take for you to change your mind on that? Is there anything that can change your mind?
Look, I think Facebook. Look, I know the problems. My daughter was a counselor for youth, and Facebook is Mark's right. There are people who use it incorrectly. There are other people who contend that it's just that it's a common carrier, like a Greyhound bus. Doesn't matter who goes on. I believe that Facebook has a responsibility to eliminate hate speech, because there's no room for hate speech. I think they're trying. I had said to Mark, I posited to Mark, what happens if Zuckerberg's changing? What happens? And Mark completely disagreed. He just said that's not happening. If anything, they're going the other way. And I believe that people can change. All right, that's been my belief all my life. And I think that Zuckerberg is changing. But Mark doesn't believe it. Mark doesn't believe the product. I mean, Mark has said, listen, it's not the technology, it's how you use the technology. And he is convinced that they're using the technology in a pernicious way. And I got to tell you, Catherine, it is something that is maybe I'm too optimistic about what Mark's trying to do. Mark Zuckerberg, the two Marks.
Yeah, you got two of them
The
here.
two Marks, but I respect Marc Benioff so much that I feel like I can trust Zuckerberg, but I got to verify.
Well, I think that's my follow-up there, Jim. I respect that
You like the
Zuckerberg
Facebook
is...
stock, too.
Yeah, and I respect that Zuckerberg is changing, but is Zuckerberg changing enough for Facebook as a whole to change?
I think that Facebook has to do some things that will hurt earnings. They have to make it so that, like Google did with YouTube, or best they can, with poor out feeling strongly about this, that Facebook has to say, we are not a outfit that just lets anything go up. We're not just a blank slate. We are someone that actually polices our stuff. We are someone who polices our stuff in a positive way, not like China, where there's no free speech, but there's no free speech for racism. I have always contended, even when I was back running the Crimson at Harvard, there is no free speech for certain people who are advocating eugenics, advocating racism, advocating a Holocaust, advocating things that we know that are not true. No free speech for them. That I am a hardliner on that, and I wish that Facebook would adopt my view. Mark, I think, is not even as hardliner as I am on this stuff. I protested for this stuff. I mean, when I say protest, I mean signs. I mean trying not to get arrested. This is very important stuff to me.
Speaking of change, Netflix, our real money stock of the day, reported earnings last night. They missed on subscriber numbers, but they beat on the EPS, and that was good enough for investors.
Yeah, this is not as bad as feared. My problem with it is that I prefer revenue growth, not earnings growth. But Netflix, what a switch! International, very strong. The stock is down a great deal. When you have stocks down a great deal, like a 3M, it's like, wow, it's down so much. Maybe it can just rally on its own. That's what Netflix is doing. But it is time. I want to invite our viewers, please help me, because we have to take out Netflix from FANG. It just doesn't belong there. It doesn't have the growth anymore, revenue growth. So what we do, we want to replace it with Microsoft. So what does that give us? It gives us Amazon. We're going to call Alphabet now because that's right, okay? And we got Apple. So we have Amazon, Apple, and we're going to call Alphabet. And then we've got Microsoft, and we've got Facebook. So MAFA, I need help here. Help me come up with a good acronym. You can go on Twitter. Excuse me?
FAM?
Fam, maybe we are family. We are family. Maybe I'll do a fam. But please, you can go on Jim Cramer at Twitter. Hello, Jim. Hey, it's on the floor. What the hell? At Jim Cramer on Twitter, and give us what you think. But you got 3 A's and an F and an M. Ain't much to do.
It's pretty hard. It's very hard for me right now. All right, Jim. At 10:45 this morning, we have bull market fantasy. Are you excited?
I hope we talk about the fact that your scoop created an incredible trade. You basically said that Jalen was going to play.
Right here, too.
And he didn't play because you're interviewing the owner of the Jags, and who's got some pride, and that was too much for him. That was a comeuppance when Jalen didn't play. So he took the first round draft picks and ran.
All right. Thank you.
Great news. I know that my friend Adam Schefter retweeted it. ESPN retweeted it. So that was great. I can't wait till 10:45. It's going to be faced off against Adrian Gonzalez, who is just an amazing baseball player, but cares tremendously about football. And I been donating $1,000 from the trust to, or at least, it's going to be, I'm trying to front run the trust. The trust doesn't really give you the money until January, but I feel like these people are kind enough to come on. We're going to have a series of great athletes talking about football. And obviously he's going against me on a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end. I saw my friend John Hansen show this morning on SiriusXM, and I got my picks from him. I'm going with Hansen because he's made me so much, well, let's say, fantasy money.
All right, we're now heading over to our Action Alerts Plus Daily Rundown show, where I want to ask Jim more about Marc Benioff's interview with Jim last night and at the dinner, because I thought it was fascinating. And of course, tune in around 10:45 a.m. on bullmarketfantasy.com because we're going live. I'm Catherine Ross, and we'll see you later.